It is 2014. I'm working at the intensive care unit of a private hospital in Izmir. Since I was single, they used to assign me to the night shift too often. We had a patient, which we call Uncle Muzzin. He was conscious. However, he used to see things all the time. He used to say, "There is a man over there. He is looking at me and making signs to me with his eyes and eyebrows." He sometimes shouts, "Kids, don't jump on me. I'm sick. Go away and play there. You may step on me," and keep talking to himself. He got worse and was connected to the respirator after 4 to 5 days of hospitalization. While he was intubated, he suffered a cardiac arrest at 1:40 a.m. during my shift, and we intervened with him. However, we lost the patient. Anyway, we are going to remove the materials on him: electrode, vascular access equipment, probe, femoral equipment, etc., so that we are going to wrap him after the cleaning. My colleague called me saying, "Hey, look over here." The open eyes of the corpse of Uncle Muzzin were not closing. We couldn't make his eyes close, even though we taped it. Anyway, we tied his head and legs. His eyes were still open. We keep the deceased patients for about 1.5 hours in the intensive care due to the procedures, in case they may review. Meanwhile, the doctor called the relatives of the patients and informed them. He also informed me by saying, "His relatives are downstairs. They will see the deceased in the morgue for identification." I and the security staff started to take the deceased downstairs to the morgue, which is located in the basement of the hospital. We arrived on the second floor where the morgue section was in. There were only 2 people here at that hour, a middle-aged man and a woman. We asked, "Are you the relatives of the deceased? Will you identify him?" They replied, "Yes, we are going to identify him." We uncovered his head in front of the morgue door, and they saw him. They also tried to close the eyes of the deceased, but they failed. Anyway, we put him in the morgue closet and went upstairs directly to the intensive care unit. The dentures of the deceased were in the drawer next to his bed. His doctor told me, "Please take them and put them on the deceased." I took the dentures, went to the ground floor, took the keys to the morgue, and went to the second floor again. On that floor, there was an operating room, laboratory, and morgue. I got out of the elevator and walked to the morgue. Due to my profession, I usually do not afraid in such venues, but somehow the sounds coming from the closets were frightening me. I looked at the laboratory. The girl who was working there was sleeping on a chair. I got closer to the door. Kids' voices were coming deep from the morgue. These were kids' voices. It was like there were 4 to 5 kids playing in there. I got closer to the door. Really, kids' voices were coming from inside. I opened the door with the key. The room was dark. I opened the door and turned on the lights. I entered the room, but there was no one. Anyway, I opened the closed and pulled the deceased to myself. I left the dentures on him and closed the closet. I turned my back and saw the girl in the laboratory. My knees were loose. I just collapsed. I loudly said, "Girl, you blew my mind. Why did you say anything?" She started to laugh and said, "Anyway, come, let's sit in the back for a while." I locked the door. We sat together and talked for about 2 minutes, and then we got up to leave. A noise came from the morgue room as soon as we got up. I was like someone was literally shouting. When we went there, the door of the morgue was open and all its closets too. The head of Uncle Muzzin was uncovered as well. We called security quickly and went next to the deceased man. His eyes were closed and he was kind of smiling. We closed all the closets and doors and went upstairs. In the morning, I went back to my home. However, I barely recovered in 2 or 3 days. I'm not working for a year. The things I experienced in this profession for 14 to 15 years are now a bit overwhelming for me. I cannot stand them anymore. There are many events I experienced similar to this one. Some of my friends who experienced similar events started to receive psychological support.